and welcome back to the Collin Cadmus Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Gal Aga. Gal is the co-founder and CEO of Aligned, a digital sales room that helps teams win deals and onboard clients faster. Prior to Aligned, Gal served as CRO, VP Sales, Head of Sales, Director, Manager, and Account Executive throughout his sales career. Needless to say, he's literally seen and done it all, so I'm excited to get his thoughts on all that's changing in B2B sales and find out what he thinks is working and what isn't working for growing pipeline and revenue in 2025 and beyond. Before we get started, if you're watching on YouTube, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave us a comment if you have questions or feedback. If you're joining us from Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please drop us a review and let us know what you think of the episode. This is much appreciated. Without further ado, let's dive in and get his thoughts. Gal, thanks for joining me and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Really excited to be here to finally connect.
Likewise. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to get you on for a while, slowly working through the list of people that I want to speak with here, but I'm excited to get your thoughts. And, it's the first time last night, I sort of dove through like your whole resume. I was like, wow, like, oh my God, he has every single role. Like he's held every sales role imaginable. And then I almost missed the CRO one. And then I saw it at the end. I was like, wow, look, he literally nailed every single one. So I am particularly excited, like I said in the intro, to get your thoughts here, because I think you'll have a unique lens where I speak with a lot of founders and CEOs who usually are not coming from a sales background. And it's a whole different ballpark, right? Because they're sort of, oftentimes they maybe think they know what they're talking about, or they know they don't know, but either way, you're sort of having a very, very, very different conversation there. So I'm excited to see sort of, through the bifocal lens of sales and CEO here to get your thoughts on everything that's going on. But let's start at the top here. I've been asking everyone this question. I've got, I think about 30 different responses to it, and there's some consistent trends and patterns there with how people are answering this. But let's see what your thoughts are. And this is in regards to the outbound model. Is traditional outbound sales broken, dead, or dying? If yes, how so? Wherever you want to go on that topic.
Yeah. So the way that I'm looking at it, I'm trying, we have, first of all, you and I just talked about it a little bit before we started this. I think you have to predict right now. I think it's not just for nice LinkedIn headlines or hooks, right? I think everyone have to be in a position where they're predicting a little bit and have a strong point of view, because you have to hire for the people and you have to hire for the future and build your go-to-market accordingly. So I actually spend a lot of time in this. I'm thinking about these things. And I think that if you call something traditional, right, in a sense that if traditional means what we've done during growth at all costs, right? And a 16-step sequence, and where you could get away with personalization equals something you notice online, right? A first name or something just personal about the person, then that's dead. It's not dying. That specific thing, I think, is dead. It's just not, it's gonna generate some results, but you're just not going to get away with it. You could get away with it in the past. I think overall, or maybe let's take a step back for a second. If I'm thinking about outbound, what is outbound? Outbound is essentially, it's an attention game, right? Because before you get to the relevance, before you get this to communicate a certain message, you have to stand out in some way, right? So you're basically, in essence, you're interrupting someone in the middle of their day, right? While if you look at marketing, then marketing can create demand in very unique ways. Like I post a lot on LinkedIn. It's marketing. It's a lot of other things. It's PR and other things. But yeah, I can post, and then the line will be something in the middle or a soft CTA that ties into a big problem that I'm talking about. So that's marketing, and I'm creating demand, right? Marketing also captures demand, and also in a non-interruptive way. Like if you're trying to really search a solution in ChatGPT, and I did good search and good GEO, right? The optimization of AI search, then I'll get in results. So I think marketing can stand everything that's happening right now with AI, but SDR, right? The more it's all a race of just getting through a certain barrier, right? So my philosophy in this is the more people can do something that breaks through the noise, that something will break at some point, right? So if in the outreach sales loft days, when everyone started doing sequences, that was breaking through the noise because you could do better than just here's my thing, here's the pitch, right? You could personalize it a little bit and go through multiple channels and you just got through the noise, right? Oh, I saw he liked my post and he wrote a nice message and now he's calling me and now she's leaving a voice message, right? So that multi-channel and ability to do that at scale broke through the noise. So I think what happened is that because that kind of moved to a scale thing, everyone did it, and then COVID hit, and then growth at all costs, and budgets are frozen, and everyone are just using these same tools. It stopped working. Okay. Now the next phase that I feel we're gonna see, and I think we're already are seeing, is that now AI, okay, people are using AI to do just that even faster. Some of these AI, and I'm speaking specifically about AI SDRs, and that kind of, that ship has sailed. It's already getting funded. Everyone are buying it. They're buying it because they're thinking about themselves first. And I think that's what's broken always. That's what's breaking us in go-to-market. It's self-centric or sales-centric, more to say, go-to-market mindset. So when you apply that mindset into today's game and you have this easy button, right? Let's just click, let's just hire, they all say hire X, hire Y. Let's just hire this thing, quick, easy fix. And then you're just taking what we did before, even faster. So yes, it's gonna work. Some reply rates, you're gonna get some reply rates over there, but that's just doomed to fail because of the same logic. And I'm just trying to apply, I think, really basic logic to this. If now everyone can go and send the AI to do what everyone else is doing, okay, and it moves faster, both at the ability to adopt it, the ability to send a lot more messages, is just going to lift the bar of what's considered noise. So even if you take a really good message, and now the AI SDR will really be able to take a good message, even some signals, and be more intelligent, the fact that we're all going to do it, I think is going to really put an end to another era in outbound. So outbound has always been about finding creative ways. I think now it's just going to happen much, much, much faster. So I'm not very optimistic, I'm afraid. I can get into, I know I said a lot here. I don't want to go on a long journey here, sharing a lot of thoughts, but this is how I'm seeing. I have some ideas of what will work, but this is how I'm analyzing. So long story short, I'm just saying it as it's a standing out game. Everyone are looking for the easy buttons. Everyone are thinking about that self-centric, sales-centric. Okay, let's just hack it. Okay. And I think AI is just going to accelerate that. It can be used also in other ways, but I think the majority is just going to make it harder for everyone to stand out and get good results.
Great breakdown. And thanks for going into detail. It was all good stuff. I think what this reminds me a lot of, and I think I said this a couple weeks ago to someone, and everything you just said just reassured me that it's sort of like this. It seems like fashion. Fashion comes in style. And the way it comes in style is we look at like some leaders of the world or some influencers or a celebrity, someone who's making something cool and trendy. And then it sort of trickles down and everyone starts doing it. And by time it makes its way almost to the bottom of the sort of food chain of like people who are buying this stuff, the people at the top who started it, they're on to the next, fashion trend. And they're now changing it because they don't want to be like everyone else. And then it sort of just keeps happening that way. But what's interesting is it's cyclical too. Like what I'm seeing it for the first time in my life now, I don't know how old a guy you are. I'm 39, born in 86. And so I'm seeing the style from the 90s come back now. People are wearing the baggy jeans and the this. And so I'm seeing it come full circle. The thing that I remember when I was a youth, like if you didn't wear baggy jeans, you were not cool. You would get made fun of for your pants being too tight or something. But then we got into this phase over the last few years where everyone was wearing like tight fitted clothes. And it took me a while to even adjust to that because I'm like, well, wait a minute, like this was never cool, right? And now I'm seeing it come full circle going backwards. And all the girls I dated over the last 20 years would like, you have to wear tight fitted jeans, this and that. And now they're all like attracted to the next thing. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? Like how, but it's the same thing in sales, right? It's very much the same. Is you now see everyone going back to like in-person meetups and all the sort of old stuff that like used to work because of exactly what you said. Once something's proven and it starts working, everyone does it. The volume goes through the roof. And then the very success of it becomes the decline of it. And then we start looking for new things to do, or we go back to old things that everyone stopped doing that were once working, like in person or things like that. So I think it's pretty interesting like that. And the other thing I'll just highlight on or respond to that you said is that, and you just started with it, which is we have to predict, right? So we need to be sort of that celebrity who's figuring out the next fashion trend, right? Those are the people who I think are going to win today. And there will be those who fail, right? There will be the people who try the new style that doesn't catch on and no one likes it. Or maybe they'll find something that works really well, but it doesn't catch on and then they can actually preserve it. And so there's sort of an element of like, maybe you don't want to go keep telling everyone what you're up to if you find something that works, because we also love to do that in this industry. The second we find a new hack, we're on LinkedIn telling the world about it. And then it becomes like the next big talking point for everyone. So I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of that too at a certain point. I don't think we're there yet because everyone loves the attention. But I think at some point we might realize, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should not talk about this. Maybe this is working too well. Let's sort of keep it going. But let's sort of transition into the next question here. I want to get a sense of what's working for you guys today, or what you think is working for generating pipeline today.
Yeah. So I think I'll before even going into that, I'll add one more thing that ties into what you just said. I think it's very true. The difference right now is that by the time you'll adopt and do all these things with this fast fashion that's right now that's popular, I think it's going to be old. Okay, I think that the rate that things are moving are so fast that you just have to think about not how you do more, how you automate, but I think you have to there's just one thing that all the time stays true, which is the ones that have a buyer-focused mindset, the ones that think about what does the buyer want, how will our buyers buy in a year from now? How do they buy now? I think they're the ones that are going to succeed. So I think you have to apply that mindset first. And so the way that I'm seeing it, and I think the strategy that I'll mention right now, I think also will stop very soon, because another trend that I think is going to happen is that AI will just block from the buyer side. Will just block a lot of the messages. So I already use AI today on my Gmail that filters out emails. So even when you connected with me on right, and you sent me a message on LinkedIn, that message came through. The one on email just didn't.
Oh, it didn't. I actually thought it was the other way around. I always try LinkedIn first, and then if I don't hear back right away, I assume it got buried, because I'm really bad with my LinkedIn inbox. It's hard to keep up with. Yeah. But that's why I'm multi-channel, right? That's the reason. You got it. You have to, because you don't know where you're going to get them. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think AI is going to double down on protecting attention, because if it's doubled down on increasing noise, and it can also block noise, so it will block noise. So I think it's going to be even harder. So I think there are two things that we're betting on. One is using SDRs only for enterprise, mid-market, and not SMB. Okay, I think that SMB, it's just the economics will just not work, because if you need to work harder to stand out, if it's going to be much more complex motion of you're doing more work, you're making more decisions, you're doing things that are deeper and more intelligent, then it just applies more to the enterprise. And so the way that we're looking at it is just SMB will have to take care of itself through marketing. And our growth, we're planning our growth more from mid-market and enterprise for that reason. And that's one thing. And So the
Do you
way
think
that
that's, can I ask you a question on that? Do you think that's, I just want to clarify first. You're talking about human SDRs for SMB, right? Yeah. So this
yeah, I
is,
think that, SDRs and AEs for SMBs.
yeah. So this has been an ongoing struggle throughout my whole career. And I've mostly been in the SMB space. We've done some mid-market, a lot of mid-market and some enterprise, but mostly we were always like an SMB first organization at the three companies that I worked at. And the challenge we always had was the LTV to CAC on, exactly what you talked about. It's very expensive. And I think costs are only just going up on a lot of this stuff now. The exception to it, I think, is when you're selling software like something like owner.com, where there is such an unlimited TAM of just calling on restaurants. And I say that because the first software I sold was for restaurants as well. So there are sort of these little I don't know if it's niche is the right word, but they're sort of SMB first products where they're calling on such an abundance of places. But I think the key there, and I can't remember exactly, but I think Kyle Norton agreed with this when I spoke with him. I think the key there is that they're calling on storefront businesses. And so the difference is they have to answer the phone because you could be a customer. And so it's quite different from selling to like a business, like a B2B company where they maybe don't even have an office phone anymore. And so I just wanted to make that distinction. I do think the SDR or outbound in general will live on for those types of businesses when you're selling to a storefront, because you can make 200 dials a day and get like 150 people to answer the phone at minimum. But for everything else, I completely agree with you. I mean, if you're going after B2B, the deal size has to be big enough to make it worth it. And that's where I think you're going to see that skyrocket of sort of the AI SDR taking over that SMB until it comes full circle, like you said, and there's AI blocking you or there's just too much noise. Yeah.
Yeah. So that part, I don't know how fast it's going to come. There's that Apple release, right? What they talked about blocking phones. So I think a lot of what you said makes sense in the SMB. If it's that transactional, if you can do 200 dials a day, and if the dials are so fast, then just use the AI SDR to do that, to do these dials, right?
Well, you can't in the US though. That's the problem. Legally speaking, you cannot have a robot make a cold call in the US unless the person you're calling opted in. And then that wouldn't really be a cold call. So the AI SDR, and I partnered with these guys, by the way, because I want to learn like everything that's going on. What are they up to? But it is, I'll just give you a quick sense of what it's doing. It's mostly focused on email and LinkedIn messaging. So they're trying to automate that stuff. And the way I look at it is that the intention should be that if you're going to do that, if it's right for your business, and it's not right for everyone, it's generally only right if you have a very repeatable, proven process that your humans have essentially become robots and they're just repeating the same. Then it's like, okay, you maybe can plug that into AI and get almost the same results, drastically reduce your cost. And then you can have your humans on the phone all day instead of doing, the emails and stuff. So I think there's a place for it in that realm. But yeah, if they started doing the phones, I mean, you'd be facing legal consequences pretty quickly on that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one part. I think another part, if we're talking about not only SMB, enterprise, mid-market, I think inbound SDR is just, that's it. We have to put an end to this. It just doesn't make sense. Anything that the work just does not require a lot of value, if you're just communicating value, if you're just a messenger, if you're just an operator that does a few tasks like helping you set things up or maybe solve an objection or two, I think that just doesn't make sense.
Do you think AI replaces that?
Yeah, I think inbound SDRs is just, I don't see a lot of future for that. We don't use it. We do everything, Chili Piper automations.
Yeah.
People actually aligned rooms below certain sizes. The room acts like an AI seller. Basically, it has AI in it that answers questions. So we kind of went a bit deeper there.
So you're getting that sort of speed to lead through actually just having an automated sort of environment that people come into and start to get answers, start to get engaged. Yeah, because that's the only value of the inbound SDR is speed to lead. That's it, right? So if you can automate that, then you can be even faster, right? Because an inbound SDR, they might be great 6 or 8 hours of the day, but when a lead comes in from Israel to a US company and our inbound SDR is asleep or something, like, what was the point?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So if I'm going back to the original question, mid-market enterprise, then what I think will work there is just using AI for the things that will take you a lot of time in order to send a really smart message, and in order to break through the noise, right? So I think it will help. It will read the reports that will take you 30 minutes to an hour to read, and we'll do all of these things, and you will really kind of think through how do I multi-thread into this account, like the ABM play, right? And you get referrals inside, like the things that are not just the message, that are a bit more complicated, and require like building even a point of view of how you enter and get that account, right? Like we're getting leads right now with really big companies by, they're speaking with the reps, and then they're speaking with this person, and then they're finding out from someone else that this is a priority for them, and then they're asking me to send a message, and they're sending me the message because they saw that I'm connected with someone, and then they're ghostwriting me the message. So a little bit like a multi-threading a deal.
Hmm.
That's what our SDRs are doing on the enterprise. I even have in an hour from now, our SDR weekly war room. We have an AE weekly war room and an SDR weekly war room. In the AE one, it's strategic deals above certain ACV, and I join it weekly with our head of sales and the rest of the team. And on the SDR as well, we're just talking about the Salesforce accounts, like the big ones that we really are trying to get, and we're brainstorming the politics and just about getting into the account. Okay, so that's one strategy, and it will take time until AI or can do something like that. Second thing is, I think successful outbound today is about not working in the demand creation space, rather working on some kind of an existing demand space and working closely with marketing in a hybrid motion. Okay, now I'll explain what I mean. The buzzword is signals. So everyone's talking about, right, signal-led sales or signal-led outbound. So that's what we do. And the philosophy here is that like you want to minimize the interruption, not by writing a better message. You want to minimize the interruption by being more relevant. Okay, it's not about
Yeah.
what you write. You don't have to write the perfect message. You just have to be very relevant. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. And we're stacking signals. We've built an ecosystem of signals that we stack into a single tool. And we're just working very closely with marketing, between the SDR and the marketing team. So a signal can be, for us, it's easy. It's easy because we're PLG. Okay. So we get hundreds of people to sign up to the freemium product every day.
Hmm.
Then the product is broken down to a lot of different signals. So it could be a user sends out 3 rooms within 30 minutes, very strong signal. A user gets 5 hours of their buyer in an aligned digital sales room, and then they invite 5 of their colleagues. Okay, we have a lot of these scenarios. A user has hit a paywall, okay, has clicked on certain things in the product that are paywall, right? You have to upgrade in order to get them. So these are a lot of different elements on a user basis. And then there's an account-based signal. So if a lot of users on the account are high quality, high signal users, then the account gets higher rank. So you have a user rank, an aggregated account rank, and then what influences the account rank even more is if you have also leadership involved, okay? So what our SDRs do is basically they do outbound into the free pool. And that's all, by the way, that's all just the sign-up signals, the product signals.
Yeah.
On top of that, you have website interactions, visit, all of the personal first-person lead, first-person identification, right? You have that. You have job changes. There's social interactions. That's massive for us, right? 65% of our leads come from LinkedIn. So
Is
there's
that
a lot.
mostly from you posting?
It's me, it's Meredith, our head of sales, a few other employees, and a lot of customers and creators that we work with posting.
Yeah. Great. So creators has been good for you guys.
Yeah, I don't think it can scale,
Hmm.
okay? Uh,
It's sort
because
of like it's like an arrow worth having in your quiver, but it's not
yeah,
necessarily, it's not like a full go-to-market motion in and of itself, but it's like a little boost on whatever you're doing, right?
more most B2B, that's what I think. Because
Yeah.
if you go to TikTok and maybe things that are not kind of small, LinkedIn is small. It's still like the same people are seeing you all the time.
Yep.
If you go to TikTok and other things, and if you have an audience that's really, really, really broad, more like a B2C thing, then yes, maybe you can get to dozens of creators. But the thing is that we have a rule. You have to use the product, okay? You have to know how to talk about the product. You have to be an actual, if because if someone just write, hey, here's the future of selling, or this happens when you're like buying has changed and it's more complex, and it happens when you're not in the room, like the solution is a digital sales room, I don't know what. And here's my favorite. It's just I think these kind of posts even have a negative effect because everyone's doing it. Everyone can go and pay someone to write something like that. Then you're just like everyone is a brand, and if it happens all the time, then okay, yeah, I now heard about a line, I heard of them, but it's not that I've developed a good sense of urgency or respect or feel kind of a strong social proof, right? Versus when we have, for example, Mike Gallardo, that Mike, and his team like is a power users of
Mhm.
Align, and he writes an AE for my team just closed a $1 million SMB deal in 30 days, and she broke down the playbook at the company, and three of her tips out of five tips are about Align, how she differentiated, how she got to hidden stakeholders, how she got signals that helped her prepare the deal, how like right. So that's influencer marketing. So there's so much that you can scale it because not all of our customers just have the audience and the ability to write like that. So yeah, that's the accumulation and everything, and all these things are signals. So now take all of that data, people that have interacted with Mike's posts and then signed up to the product and are now inviting a lot of other people. Like you just look at all of these signals, and on the day to day, you make decisions who you go after. And now you don't have to be hyper personalized, okay? You don't have to be finding to look read their financial report. It's just going to work because they're already in your space. Okay.
Yeah. My hope with that, you hit on so many good things there. My hope with the AI, and this is wishful thinking, but my hope when it comes to AI and signals is that we can actually get to a place where maybe the opposite of what you predicted will happen. And I tend to agree with you that I think that, anything that works, it becomes high volume, too much noise, we overuse it. I just pray that we get to a point where signals are so good that we can actually send less messages because we know how to reach the right people. And if we get to a place like that in sales, then everyone wins because then we can all do this stuff. We can all scale and we can somehow send maybe 60% less messages and get way more revenue because we're so sophisticated on the signals. And I think we're just scratching the surface. I mean, everything you described there, I think you've gone deeper on it than probably a lot of companies have, especially since you're tracking the signals inside of your own product. It reminded me a little bit of AirCall, but we didn't go that deep with it. But we would look at those things like how many users did they add to the free trial? How many minutes did they use on the phone? Did they set up an integration or not, right? We would try to poke around and sort of look for these things. But I think you're right. That's the future of really sophisticated outbound is understanding those things. And a lot of it is probably just to be determined, like how much information are we going to be allowed to track, right? It's easy to track inside your own product, but all the stuff that comes before that, it's like as soon as we figure out how to track something, everyone's trying to block you from tracking it. And then you sort of have like that next, like the website visitors or whatever. And, now people are upgrading to, from Chrome to Firefox or Brave browser to block, these trackers.
Yeah.
And so it's like this constant sort of battle that happens there.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like you mentioned with Gmail, everyone's, the spam filters are getting really good. And so most cold emails that hit my inbox, they go straight to the spam now. So it only gets harder in that regard. So I do agree with you, but I just pray that we get to a place where signals are so good. Imagine you could just wake up in the morning and know exactly who's in the market for something that you're selling.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
boom, right? That would
And
be
it's kind
that
of
would be the win.
the thing is that you make yourself part of a good buying experience.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm already, I just did last week a webinar. We have this monthly expert panel. So we bring next 2 weeks from now, we're going to bring Kristen Connor. Last week we had Jamal Raymer, and we did this really deep dive into narrative design in enterprise, strategic narratives, how to build business cases, how to build a point of view in order to do outbound. So now if someone, and then after the event, we send them an aligned room with a lot of the event materials, with decks, with actual really good things in there that they can template, things that they can use. And now all of these are signals, the fact that they attended, if they completed and stayed for the entire event, things that they wrote in the actual comments, plus also interactions in that room. Now, if someone is so deeply interested, asking something in the comments, then spending an hour in the aligned post-event room on the framework or Jamal's deck, okay, it's us supporting them, right? They're looking at these things. It's us supporting them in that search. So they might need a solution, they might not, but there's so much higher. First of all, it's such an easy connect, right? They just saw me, they know us, right? But also like really high chance that they'll respond.
I'm curious to ask you, as a sales, former salesperson turned CEO, do you guys have sort of a constant sort of routine for reviewing what's happening in that free trial experience, getting feedback from sort of sales or whoever might have intuition on like, hey, if we could do this, it'll convert better. If we could do that, like, are you guys paying a lot of attention to that and sort of constantly iterating what that free trial experience looks like to sort of optimize for all of those things, those signals and things that you were just talking about?
Yeah, so there are a few things. There's product growth, head of product growth, who does the optimization on the product side, right? So all the time improving onboarding activation, but that's unrelated to sales. Related to the outbound signal thing, then right now marketing is working very closely with our sales team, and we have a RevOps team, and we have the teams of the actual tools that we use, and we constantly try to optimize it. And our tech team, our R&D team, is part of it and our analyst, we have an analyst inside the company, so she's going and building the data in such a way that it could go into the CRM and go into other systems. So it's a constant improvement. It takes time to really build something powerful.
Yeah, I tend to notice this theme when I speak with founders and CEOs who come from a sales background, is they tend to have a closer connection between sort of the feedback that they get from sales and then the actual product team or development team, whereas they can tend to happen in two totally different silos. And there's so many instances. That doesn't mean that every piece of advice is good advice from salespeople. It's definitely not. They'll request a lot of junk. But I've seen, sort of two different types of worlds where one is like, they just don't really care what sales has to say about anything. If sales has advice, I'm like, hey, if you guys could build this in the free trial, it'll convert faster. Like I'm telling you, like they always sort of, someone on the team has those ideas. And oftentimes they're just not listened to. But I find when the CEO is a former salesperson, they tend to take that stuff a bit more serious. And I just get the vibe that you guys take that serious there.
We're so lucky, not because of that, because my co-founder, who's chief product officer, is also like 10, 12 years in sales.
Ah, okay. This makes a lot of sense. The DNA of your product kind of needs that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I see that as such an opportunity. There's just so many situations where it's like, hey, maybe if you took a couple product people and just like assigned them to work with your sales leadership for a few months, like they'd come up with a lot of incredible ideas on how to accelerate growth. Because one of the biggest blockers that I've experienced in my career is sometimes you just have these ideas, but you don't have the resources to do anything with them, right? Because it ties into the product, and there's sort of sometimes this like wall between you and the product, and you're like, but the free trial is like that's sales. Like I need
yeah,
to, that experience is sales. And I know what that experience needs to be like as a
yeah,
salesperson. The product person's assuming they know. That's
yeah.
often what happens there. So it's
For us, like the 80% of our roadmap right now is AI. So our sales team has become really the QA of everything.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
me, I'm very, very deep into that. So we're teaching right now our AI based on playbooks that I wrote and Meredith, our head of sales, wrote on LinkedIn, like LinkedIn posts, because it's going to recommend, it's going to do a lot of things within the room. And so it's drafting content, business cases, success plans, POC plans, mutual action plans. It's building these things automatically from calls. So the prompt engineering is now our head of AI, product, CPO, product team, me in the loop, and the sales team all the time testing things and bringing feedback. So it became kind of such a big thing. So couldn't agree more.
Yeah, well, I think it's also the DNA of what you're selling, right? Like you're selling a product that is essentially, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but it's sort of you're creating a digital, it's a sales room, but it's in a sense, it's acting as a salesperson in a way because it's guiding the sales process, right? It's helping people move from A to Z or from A to B or whatever without necessarily having a bunch of humans in there all the time. And so I think you need that DNA of like coming from the sales team in order to even know how to build that. So that makes a lot of sense. But we've alluded a lot to it. So let's jump into like what is a sales room for those who are listening who maybe don't know what a digital sales room is, or a deal room, I think is another term that people use. I don't know if you differentiate the two. But before we dive into like specifically what Aligned is and what makes it special, can you give us a high level for those who don't know what is a digital sales room?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, it's a customer-facing space that organizes all of the back and forth that happens during a sales process. You send emails, you send a lot of content. There's a mutual action plan, a business case, a POC, a proposal, a gong call, like all of these things is just a chaos of back and forth where you have stakeholders getting into the loop at certain points of the process. And there's a lot of things going on there. We're just taking that workflow and moving it into just one link that helps AEs and CSMs as well just improve their deal execution. So think about building better champions, and giving them all the tools they need to sell internally, reducing friction from a buying committee by just making sure that everyone see the clear message in the most organized way. They see what everyone has talked about. It's about accessing more stakeholders. We see on average 43% more stakeholders
Mm.
in these workspaces than without it, because your stuff typically gets forwarded internally. But when you send just one link all the time and they have to enter that link,
Yeah.
then you just get more exposure. And the
It's
last,
similar with Consensus too, who's doing demo automation. They
yeah.
said a similar thing. They're like, you're getting so many more stakeholders involved per deal that otherwise would just not be involved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a big, big, big value proposition. It gives you also a lot of new ways to engage them because it's another engagement channel.
yeah,
The last piece is, or there are two more things, buying signals and recommendations. So think about like you wake up with cold sweat at night because you don't know what's going on when you're not in a room,
yeah.
right? There's so much that's happening, so many forwards. A CFO suddenly gets into the deal after you've been selected as vendor of choice, after you've negotiated everything. But now you don't know that they're looking still at your competitors, or they're still looking at pricing. But we will tell you, hey, we will even now tell you with AI, hey, there's a risk right now in the deal because this thing happened in a call, and from the CRM, it reads that you're vendor of choice, and the CFO is doing all of these things right now, and these buying signals, these digital cues say something about the deal. So not only you're getting alerts that are entering, you're now getting smart risk opportunities alerts and recommendations, and even what to do next. So that's the other part. And the last piece is really for sales leaders. It's a way to just standardize, to get all ducks in a row. So you don't know, people don't know how others are executing the sales process. You like mutual action plans, for example, is a spreadsheet. Everyone have their own versions, and you have a lot of different templates for different things that you want, how people share proposals or how people share the competitive comparison. So using a deal room, digital sales room, you could basically create templates for rooms, for tabs, for sections. You could templatize kind of everything in one place, including having a full CMS built into it. And now you just pull everything in, and you guide customers. And where we're going to go, we're going to have AI also ingest your playbook next quarter, and it will read and understand your playbook, and now tell salespeople, hey, based on all of these scenarios, the typical recommendation from the playbook is to do this next.
Yeah.
Right.
And eventually it might be able to do that automatically, right? If it knows 99.99% of the time this question is asked, this is the best response. Yeah. Eventually it may be able to just sort of have its own autopilot mode, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. So let's dive into specifically aligned. Now this is an area that I would imagine that I would be more up to speed on in terms of the competitive landscape, like who's out there doing this, who's not. And I have seen over the years people take stabs at sort of trying the deal room thing. And you guys, I think, are the ones I'm seeing getting the most traction. You're making the biggest waves. People are actually using it. Because I can't even recall names of the things that I've seen throughout the years, but no one has really executed it well. And it seems like you guys have figured that out. And now that I'm hearing the story, like the founders and product all coming from sales, like it makes sense. But what makes you guys different? Or maybe if you want to start with like what the previous, legacy sort of people who've tried this, like what they've done, wherever you want to go on that.
I think that the thing is, the challenge in this space is to nail it in terms of the right experience and the right focus on.
Like if you don't, they're out of there in 2 seconds, right?
Yeah. So I think that still before old generation, before we got into the market, there were a few things, but I think, COVID wasn't there, digital wasn't there, the complexity was not that high, and then the entire world also started moving from spreadsheets to a Miro and Asana and Monday, right? From Photoshop to Figma, everything just became collaboration and digital. So the behavior kind of really helped. We talked about COVID a little bit before the episode. So
it's like some user training, basically. It's like some conditioning of the market. Yeah,
exactly. There was that conditioning. Everyone's sending Vidyards and Looms. That's what they do. Send a lot of these digital links. But I think that the previous digital sales room wave, and still until today, almost every competitor looks at it as a microsite. Okay, this is just this.
Yeah,
like they basically created an evolution of the proposal space.
Yeah.
Right. So let's take a proposal and just make it a little bit more collaborative.
It's kind of like a Notion, right? Like most of them, they seem similar to sort of a Notion, like a complex Notion doc.
Yeah. And now where it misses the point is on few areas. One is it looks like you're pitching me. Okay, it looks like a website that you built for me, fully branded, and a lot our really closest competitors. That's what they do, like heavy branding and customization. It's all about content and dumping a lot of content in something that looks nice. We understood that that's not the job to be done. That's not the problem to solve here. The problem to solve here is to think about what in this buyer journey needs to be easier, and how to help a seller execute the sales process better. So it's the first, if you look at the tech stack, nothing actually helps you directly move along the sales process better. Everything is about the manager or SDR. In the SDR, you do have tools, right? But if you think about the AE, Nothing. You have something to get a signature faster. You have something to do some video selling, great. But the actual full end-to-end, I want to execute better. I want to enable champions. I want to multi-thread, all of these things, right? Use mutual action plans. This is what you do in most of the sales process, not go on calls. Nothing helps you there. So we understood that we have to build a workspace, not a microsite, and that it has to be extremely collaborative, extremely neutral in design, not about customization, and it just feels different. So the entire design, the entire UI UX, and the entire focus on features is just so much more on being a smart and collaborative workspace. Now with AI, it's automating things for you and helping you move the deal, and not just being a content mini site. So where another place where a lot of the market is missed is they build it top down. This product cannot work top down. It has to be like aligned, has really raving fans. People are, I get 4 or 5 DMs every day from people about how much they love the product. Because it's so much easier. And if you look at the sales enablement space, Seismic, HighSpot, all of these tools, we're displacing almost on a weekly basis these tools, because they're built top down, they're built for the enablement team, and then the enablement team says, "Oh, digital sales room, we've heard about that," and it's just really hard to use, and it's that pitch deck, that pitch room, and AEs just don't like it, and then they look at a lot and they love the difference, and that's where it really picks up.
Yeah, there's been a handful of tools over the years that I don't think were necessarily digital sales rooms. I'm drawing a blank on the word of the one that we tried to use once at Aircall, but the idea was it was supposed to create like a nice organized place for all of our collateral and stuff. And it wasn't exactly a digital sales room, but it's sort of in that space. And I remember just even attempting to get the sales team to adopt it was a nightmare. Like they had no desire. And so I've come to sort of appreciate the fact that like if it's just easier to use a Google Doc or a Google presentation sheet, people are going to do it. Like there needs to be exponentially more value. And sounds like that's what you focused on. Like you didn't just focus on building a place to bring a bunch of collateral together, which you can literally do in a PowerPoint so easily, so perfectly. Like their PowerPoints are great at that, right? And so, yeah, it sounds like you use the word collaboration, but I would say like the communication element is that really like the fuel that's driving the usage there, that people are actually coming in there, not only to ask questions, but to maybe see what's happened, see if something was already explained, or see if there's something there to answer it. So it sort of becomes a hub of not just sharing collateral, but actually communicating and driving the process forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot about the UI UX for the buyer, and to get the buyer to really be excited to spend time there. We don't see like a situation where like buyers prefer aligned like 99% of the time. You won't hear, "Hey, send me this in a file." Like no one goes back.
That's probably the smell test for you guys, right? Is like, do they actually say, "Send me this in aligned," or do they say yeah?
I have hundreds of recordings that AEs sent us of buyers saying on a call, "Wow, like this is so great," or they're explaining to their colleagues, "Hey, they have this workspace, they built like everything here for us, like we have the project next steps." And the buyer is really, that's one of the value propositions, by the way, to differentiate with how you sell, not only what you sell, but just creating a much easier experience. So we have over 1 million buyers right now every month using our rooms. So yeah, it's really a lot about cracking that. And look, the root cause of the problem that this solves is that we don't lose deals because it's hard to sell. Like our products are not that hard to sell. There's no complex sales. There's complex buying. Okay, there's no such thing as complex sales. There's only complex buying, and the complexity of buying makes sales complex. So the reason you lose a deal is not because you didn't pitch well enough, right, or push hard enough. It's because you didn't equip a champion well enough, and now they go to a budget review and they get crushed in like 5 minutes because you didn't equip them, build the business case, access these other stakeholders. Or when you have 11 confused stakeholders that can't reach consensus because the information is in 50 emails your competitive comparison is in email too. And it's just not an easy and smooth experience. So we're solving buying complexity first, and also sales complexity because we give you signals and we give you more tools. But the core of the category and why this works is about solving first for the buyer. And buyers also spend less time. They're avoiding salespeople that are less helpful. They're going to use AI more and more to do a lot of the tasks. So a lot of buying happens when you're not in the room, and it's getting more
Yep.
complex. So
Yeah.
it's just a way to really level up.
Yeah, that was already an issue even pre-Chat GPT. People were getting 80% of the way through the buying journey before reaching out to a salesperson. And so now when you need to buy something, I mean, my first stop is Chat GPT. What are my best options for X, Y, and Z? Here's and it's so good. I mean, but it might be missing out on some things, and then that falls on the marketing team to figure out how to get them to show up
Yeah.
there. But I have a question for you. Do you guys, since you're building such sort of champion users, do you run into situations where, let's say I'm a champion, I use a line to make a purchase because I'm buying something that one of your customers, they're using a line. Do they then come to you and say, hey, like I now need to buy this other software and I wish that they were using Aligned? And do you have some sort of a referral mechanism? So in other words, if I'm a user of Aligned, like not a customer of yours, but I used it as a purchaser of one of your customers, do they then sort of reach out and say like, hey, I had this great experience using Aligned to buy X, Y, and Z. Now I'm shopping for this other product and I really wish they used it. Is there sort of a funnel where you can sort of relay that in the same way that I think Notion sort of like, people share the docs around and it sort of acquires growth that way? I don't know if I asked that clearly, but I see you
Yeah,
nodding. Do you
no,
understand?
it's super clear. It's basically it's called a network effect.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not virality would be seller brings seller, which happens a lot. It's like a 35 to 40% of our users is virality.
yeah,
The buyer to sell, the seller to buyer to seller, or seller to buyer asking a new seller to work with them in a digital sales room. That's the network effect.
yeah.
Yeah, it happens naturally. And we have big plans on how to accelerate it. I won't expose too much.
That's what was going on in my. Those were the light bulbs in my head. Is I'm thinking there's got to be a growth play there,
Yeah.
because you can create some incentives, and it's similar to like Slack. Like a lot of people now in the buying cycle, they will ask an AE like, "Can you make a Slack channel for us to discuss this?" Like that's the winning moment for Slack, and like that's why I asked like when you have that moment when someone's like, "How can we purchase this by using Aligned?" Those are going to be huge opportunities for you guys. So that's why it's interesting that you're not just building champions on sort of your customer side, but their end user of the product. You have this other realm of champion that can become a growth lever there for you, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So let's close out on that, though. What are your growth plans for the rest of the year, in terms of hiring, in terms of revenue, whatever is fun and interesting and worth highlighting there?
Yeah, so I think we were fortunate to actually build the company just right after COVID, where when she hit the fan, as we really from day one we focused on responsible, efficient growth. So we are growing fast this year. We've doubled since the beginning of the year. So
Congrats.
in age one, we doubled ARR after Series A, and we also at the same time built a really low churn engine, around 90% gross retention, less than 1% monthly churn, and around 130% net revenue retention. So overall, it's really healthy on the retention side, and CAC payback is between 6 to 12 months. So overall,
Good.
yeah, kind of try to maintain really all of these things. So the biggest challenge right now is to repeat it in H2, and then really scale again next year. So the goal will be to triple again next year, or more. We are more than tripling this year, but to go on that path. So yeah, we're growing. In Q4, we're going to hire again AEs. In Q1, we're going to hire a lot more. In H1 next year, AEs, SDRs, we're hiring across the board, CSMs.
And how big is the team?
It's 40 people right now.
The whole company.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're not going the traditional growth at all costs mindset. It sounds like you're being smart, you're being lean, and you're kind of taking it sort of half a year at a time and kind of have a look at what happened. And the growth plan is not hiring 50 SDRs next year, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. We're growth hack geeks. We really love data. We love just hacking everything, do it efficient, do it in a responsible way. And yeah. So like if we continue, we could get to profitability and still grow double or maybe a little bit more than double next year, even without raising more funds.
That's awesome. When profitability is in sight, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
That rhymed, and I didn't intend for it to, but that sounded good. Any roles that you're hiring for that you want to promote right now?
Yeah, we need SDRs, SDR director, and AEs at the beginning of Q4. We're going to hire.
Okay. So everyone.
Line right now. Yeah.
And this is all remote?
Yeah.
Awesome.
North America. Yeah.
North America. Awesome. And they can, I've got your website in the show notes. It's alignedup.com. And so they can go to the bottom, click on careers, and you'll have everything listed there, right?
Yeah. Other than the AEs is going to open in Q4.
When it opens up.
Best person to reach out to is Meredith, our head of sales.
Meredith, your head of sales. All right, perfect. Hey, this was awesome. I learned a lot. We got a lot packed in here. Thank you so much. We'll have to keep in touch.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much.
Likewise. Thank you.